Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I guess that pretty much settles it. You know, jokingly, we've said in the past that Joe Biden pretty much has an excuse for everything. His excuse is really only one word: dementia. How could Joe Biden be found guilty of anything if Joe Biden doesn't even know where he is? Kind of hard to prove intent when the man's brain no worky. That's been the ongoing running joke for a while. Well, it seems as though today it's less of a joke and more of a reality. Joe Biden's own DOJ was investigating him on the issue of illegally holding and storing classified documents. And well, in the end, it seems as though the assessment was that Joe Biden is too frail and old and has such poor memory that it wouldn't make sense to take him to trial. Yep, you heard that right. Joe Biden sidesteps criminal charges on the issue of illegally holding classified documents relating to Afghanistan and other documents from back when he was a senator because, quote, he's an elderly man with a poor memory. Let me show you guys exactly what happened here. This is absolutely devastating for the Democrat Party. Sure, I'd like to see Joe Biden facing the indictments that he deserves. And of course, it's kind of a weird conclusion that the DOJ would draw. But trust me when I tell you, this might be even more devastating than actual charges. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends. So after months and months and months of Democrats telling us that Joe Biden, the sharpest man on the planet,
actually, Joe Biden at his age is he has a big vision for our country. He brings the wisdom, the knowledge, the judgment of age, as well as experience. He knows how to get things done. He's a legislator, not a person to hold things up. And he has a big heart of empathy for the American people.
And then, of course, Democrat lawyer, I call him that because all he does is frickin' lie, Democrat Dan Goldman pushed the same narrative today.
The memory lapses that President Biden is described as having in this report, this is not the first time anybody's raised issues of President Biden's acuity. And in fact, twice this week, President Biden referenced European leaders, conversations he had with them in 2021 when both those European leaders had long been dead. He confused Macron with Mitterrand. He confused Helmut Kohl with Angela Merkel. Are you really acting as if there's nothing to these issues or these concerns?
Well, I saw from the White House counsel that they disputed this recollection of the interview. And I will tell you, Jake, I was in Israel on October 7th, as you know, and President Biden was nice enough to call me. And I can tell you, this was the day before that interview, I can tell you he was sharper than anyone I've spoken to about a very complex geopolitical urgent issue.
He's sharper than anyone I've spoken to. That's the narrative the Democrats have set, right? Well, apparently, that's not the case at all. According to Joe Biden's DOJ, a nightmare. Special counsel's assessment of Biden's mental fitness triggers Democrat panic. President Joe Biden sidestepped any criminal charges as the investigation into his handling of classified documents concluded. But the political blowback from the special counsel's report on Thursday could prove even more devastating, reinforcing impressions, that's an interesting word to use, impressions, that he is too old and impaired to hold the highest office. Special counsel Robert Hur's portrait of a man who couldn't remember when he served as Barack Obama's vice president, or the year when his beloved son Beau died, dealt a blow to Biden's argument that he is still sharp and fit enough to serve another 4-year term. In deciding not to charge Biden with any crimes, the special counsel wrote that in a potential pretrial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview with him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning, quote, elderly man with a poor memory. It was tough enough for Biden to reassure voters about his health before Hur's report hit like a thunderclap Thursday afternoon, prompting members of his own party to question whether he could remain the nominee in November. Quote, it's a nightmare, said Democratic House member, who asked to speak anonymously to provide a frank assessment, adding that it weakens President Biden electorally and Donald Trump would be a disaster and authoritarian. For Democrats, we're in a grim situation. Biden wasted little time attempting to minimize the fallout. He held an unexpected exchange with reporters in the White House on Thursday in which he disputed Hur's assessment of mental acuity. Biden grew emotional when invoking the part of the report addressing the date of his son's death. How in the hell dare you raise that, Biden said. Frankly, when I asked the question, I thought it to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. So that's absolutely wild. Robert Hur interviewed the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and he couldn't remember when he served as vice president with Barack Obama. That wasn't that long ago. He couldn't remember the date of his son's own passing. Joe Biden is in clear cognitive cognitive decline. Here's the craziest part. After the DOJ essentially claimed that he wasn't mentally fit for trial, Joe Biden scheduled a couple events, I guess to convince the public that he's all there, he's got all his mental faculties intact. Well, the event went pretty much as you might expect.
I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. He raised that. Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented, I wear since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of... Every Memorial Day we hold a service remembering him, attending. When we pushed all these programs, I said I'm going to be a president for everybody, whether you live in a red state or a green state.
This guy literally just declared that Mexico is on the border of Gaza. He referred to being a president for red and green states and forgot the name of the place where Bo got his rosary. This guy clearly is unfit and is frankly unwell. Yet the media is totally silent. MSNBC is playing defense, claiming, well, at least it's not happening in October. The people are going to forget.
So let's just thank God this is not October. So it is weighty, it is damning, and it's going to be important for the president to sort of clean that up for himself and for his presidential narrative, because you have this other branch now sort of weighing in and saying, yeah, he's sympathetic because he's forgetful. That is something that Trump will exploit. That's why it's important that this is happening in February and not in October.
Yeah.
And so you have the runway now, probably 3 weeks, 2 weeks, where this is going to bubble and make some noise. Will be talked about certainly on Fox. That by the time you get to summer and into the fall, this storyline, because there will be so many other greater storylines that will suppress it and diminish it, will become the important factor. If we're in October, it's a different conversation, because that will leave an imprint on the voter's mind as they go to the ballot box for a general election.
A little bit of an interesting reaction, because we all remember how the leftist media acted when Donald Trump got the coof.
And President Donald Trump's COVID-19 diagnosis has many of you asking about invoking the 25th Amendment. What does that look like, and who enforces it? For that, we turn to Liza Lucas at the 11 Alive Bridge, breaking down the amendment and what many of you are saying online about it.
That's right. We want to break it down because there was a huge spike in Google searches for the 25th Amendment when news of the president's positive COVID test broke. So the basics of the 25th Amendment, well, it's pretty clear for most people. When a president passes away, resigns, or is removed from office, well, the VP takes over.
We all remember when Donald Trump was wearing leather-bottom shoes, struggling to make his way down a slippery ramp, and the leftist media called for the 25th Amendment. Now we have a special counsel assessment of Joe Biden, calling him an elderly man with poor memory who can't remember basic facts and basic dates about his own life. And the reaction is, oh, well, thank God it's not October. What an absolute farce. Joe Biden slips out of classified document charges because he's too old and has dementia. I didn't say it. His own DOJ said it. They could barely conduct interviews with the guy because he's pretty much off in La La Land. I mean, I am starting to be convinced that Joe Biden might actually be removed from office by his own party. They might even sign on to the 25th Amendment, or as we're seeing with the Obamas attempting to convince Joe Biden to drop out of the race right after the South Carolina primary. I think it might actually happen. I'm still leaning towards it's not going to happen because I think Joe Biden's too much of an egomaniac. But even with that being said, I think the Democrats behind the scenes are actually trying to remove this guy, because really, what other options do you have? That is the only option. Joe Biden has dementia, his brain doesn't work, he's unfit for office, and this pretty much proves it. He cannot remember when he served as vice president under Barack Obama. I mean, I want to laugh and make a joke out of it, but that's just sad. That's the president of the United States. What an absolute laughingstock America has become on the global stage. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.